Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Doula Pregnancy Journey. If this is your first time watching, go back and watch the other videos so that you know from the beginning what we have been talking about. I am Sakira, I'm a doula, birth and postpartum. I support families during their pregnancy journeys and have been doing so for a decade now, so 10 years, and have been doing it as a doula for the last 8. I've also been a mommy for the past 8 years. And so this time around, my third pregnancy, I'm documenting and sharing with you all the ins and outs of pregnancy support for me and what has been happening in my pregnancy journey, what's happening with my care team, how I'm prepping for birth, and other things that are going on in my life during this time. So thank you for joining. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts, and let's dive right in. So today, we're actually going to be talking about first trimester symptoms. So the first trimester of pregnancy is the beginning of pregnancy, so from conception to week 13. And there can be a lot going on. There can be a ton happening during this time, and the changes happening inside of my body during the first trimester were pretty evident to begin with, even though I did not realize I was expecting. So some of the very first symptoms that, hindsight being 2020, right, and understanding that I was pregnant at the time, some of the first symptoms that were happening was once a week I was getting sick. And I think the once a week part is what made me rule out pregnancy, because I'm like, no, I'd be sick every day. It just must be something I ate. And so this went on for 3 or 4 weeks before I ended up taking a pregnancy test and realizing that I was expecting. And so those symptoms were once a week, I would vomit and have diarrhea. And I was like, what did I eat? What's wrong with me? And I think the second week, my daughter had diarrhea or vomited as well. She's like, oh my goodness, it's something that we ate. We got food poisoning. Something's wrong. So that was another week of, it's not pregnancy for sure, because my daughter also is having these same symptoms. So something's up. I don't know what we ate. I don't know what's going on. So the third week, I started to get a little suspicious. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sick again? Like, why is this happening? I don't understand what's going on. And it was only happening once a week. So by the 4th week, it happened one more time. And I ended up testing because then it was time for my cycle too. And it was late. So first symptom, one of the first symptoms, a late period as well. But at that time, I realized that my cycle was late. And I was also having these odd symptoms. So it prompted me to go ahead and test to see if I was expecting, and sure enough, I was. Over the course of the next few weeks, I started to have more pregnancy symptoms in the first trimester, and a lot of them were digestive. So I continued to not be able to eat like fried foods. That was an issue, and mainly for like the diarrhea part. TMI, but eating fried food would send me to the bathroom. And it was the same with my son. That's one of the early symptoms that I noticed with my second pregnancy. I didn't have that at all with my first pregnancy. But with my second pregnancy, I noticed that I could not eat fried food. And if I so tried to eat some French fries, I would soon pay for that. So my symptoms in the first trimester did really make me hone in on my nutrition and eating healthier. And ultimately, I lost weight. And I wasn't losing weight because I was vomiting and so sick all the time, but because I couldn't eat a lot of things that I probably normally eat that keep me at a higher weight than I should be. So no fried food, that was out of the window, or I would pay for it, right? And sometimes I was like, you know what? I really want this and I'm going to eat it and I'll just pay for it later. But most of the time, it just kept me clean. The other symptom that had some digestive feedback was sweets. So anytime I would eat something sweet, one, I would get so nauseous afterward. And I would have this disgusting taste in my mouth. and it would just last and linger. And I had such a hard time trying to get it out of my mouth. The only couple of things I could eat that were somewhat sweet was apples and applesauce, peanut butter, and Lifesavers mints. That was it. I could not do anything sweet in the morning, first thing in the morning. So breakfast, you start to notice how much breakfast food is actually sweet. Like how many breakfast items are sweet when you can't eat sweet stuff, and especially not first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. I would just be so sick. So I started to focus more on eating savory breakfasts. Really, I would just eat lunch or dinner leftovers for breakfast all the time. Or I started doing real breakfast food, like actual like meat, eggs, a hearty breakfast that usually I would grab something quick and go out the door. It might be fruit, or it might be like a granola bar or something like that, and go out the door. But I couldn't do that anymore. So I really had to start eating savory breakfasts or just skipping right to lunch and dinner. I also noticed I couldn't eat throughout the day as I normally would. So I would eat breakfast. I'd want like a hearty, decent breakfast. And then I'd want like second breakfast or early lunch. So my first breakfast would be at like 7 a.m. But by like 10, I was hungry again and I needed food. So that was like lunch hour for me between 10 and 11. And then I'd eat another hearty meal at probably about 3 or 4, and then nothing for the rest of the day. So that's also a healthier eating schedule, because I would be so full from whatever my dinner was at 3 or 4 until it was time to go to bed. And so I did not do a lot of eating or munching in the evening time at all. So my body had plenty of time to digest my dinner in the evening time. And if I ate anything for dinner, it might be a bite of something. But I was so miserably full for the rest of the day. So that eating schedule definitely changed up a lot during this pregnancy. Other things that I began to notice was headaches. So sometimes I would get headaches when I had eaten something salty. And so talking to my midwife and talking to my doula, they have recommended, okay, well, watch whatever your body is responding to. If it's responding to salt that way, then watch your intake of salt, and also make sure that I was monitoring my blood pressure, which has stayed normal the whole time, thank goodness. And just listening to my body with that and being mindful. Also trying to make sure that I'm well hydrated, but especially just watching how my body's responding and just limiting the things that seem to be triggering these negative symptoms for the first trimester and for pregnancy in general, and just tuning in. Sometimes we can get to a space where we just accept discomforts of pregnancy as opposed to trying to do something about them or using it as feedback to know how to care for our bodies. But all of these digestive things really came into play, and I think have really helped with how I tune into my body during pregnancy and how I'm learning to care for my body during pregnancy and know what my body needs this time around, which is different, than the last time. But I think that our symptoms are there for a reason, and we should learn from them, get that feedback, and really try to support the body the best way that we can. And working with my doula in the first trimester, other things that she brought up to me that were super helpful and I think have been instrumental in helping me through this pregnancy is the fact that being aware that my pregnancies were closer together this time. I was breastfeeding up until I got pregnant, and weaned my toddler and got pregnant the same month. So I have not had a period of time in the last almost 3 years now, well, more than 3 years if we're counting the past pregnancy. So in almost 4 years, where my body nutritionally was just for me, where my nutrition was actually just going to me. It's been sustaining another life for the past 4 years. So my toddler's about to turn 3, so a pregnancy with him was 9 months. That's almost 4 years of whatever I'm taking in going to another human being or being put into breast milk as well as my own body. And so she really helped me to address nutritional deficiencies that are probably within my body from pregnancies that were closer together, and not a gap in between where I was just on my own, feeding my own body without also feeding another human being. So her highlights for me for nutritional needs were 4 different recommendations. One was mineral replacements. So she recommended a mineral replacement for me to be taken throughout the pregnancy. So I've been working on that. A plant-based protein to make sure that my protein levels are high enough to sustain a healthy pregnancy and the growth of a placenta and the growth of this baby and their cells. She also recommended vitamins, of course. So a whole food based vitamin was her recommendation and what I've been using through the pregnancy. I also make sure that my vitamins have DHA, which is like a fatty acid for brain development for the baby. So my prenatal vitamins with the DHA, as well as a herbal support. That's what it was, as well as herbal support. So she recommended some herbs that are just nutritional herbs for the body, and making a tea and kind of drinking that throughout the pregnancy as well. So those are things that I think have been very instrumental in helping to support my pregnancy and getting through these first trimester symptoms, and it really helped to kind of curb when I start to feel certain symptoms coming on. I'm like, oh, I didn't do my mineral supplements for the last week or 2 weeks. Let me get back on top of it. I haven't done my protein in the last week. Let me get back on top of it. And I think that's been really helpful, just focusing on those nutritional needs to set me up for a healthy pregnancy. So we need to start focusing on a healthy birth with a healthy pregnancy, because what's happening during pregnancy is just going to kind of play out during the birth and can influence a lot of what our birth outcomes or birth decisions or birth support kind of looks like at the end, right? So if a pregnancy becomes high risk, then it really limits what some of your options or support might look like for you for the actual birth. And that's something we have to start working on during pregnancy, is a healthy pregnancy, and what do we do to sustain that. So I hope that that's helpful. If you are also trying to figure out what your desires are for your birth, how to support the birth that you want, I have a My Desired Birth checklist that is a free resource to you. It'll be linked in the bio or in the description. So check that out as a resource as you are also journeying and preparing for your birth. Don't forget, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and turn on your notifications so you do not miss an episode of the Doula Pregnancy Journey. Thanks again for tuning in. I will see you on the next episode.